Ever get that feeling? Like you're walking down the street, headphones in, and it suddenly hits you that it's like you're in a movie, and like a movie that's all about you.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
The light hitting the buildings just right, some random conversation you overhear, like it's all part of your story.
Yeah, that feeling that your life has a narrative, like you're the main character in your own experiences. A lot of people feel that, yeah.
And then it makes you think, right, if I'm living my life like it's my movie and I'm the lead role, then what does that make everyone else? Are they just like extras, just faces in the background? Or are they more like those NPCs, those non-playable characters you get in video games, just there for your personal quest? And here's the real head scratcher. If everyone's walking around feeling like they're the main character, then who's actually in charge of the story?
Those are really big questions you're asking about how we all see ourselves and our place in the world, especially now when it seems like everyone's telling their own story all the time.
And that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. In this deep dive, we're going deep into what some people are calling main character syndrome.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, that whole thing about seeing your life like a film, which, let's be honest, can be pretty cool sometimes, but we got to figure out where that line is between feeling empowered and just being totally self-absorbed. And of course, there's the whole social media angle to consider because, well, we're all kind of curating and performing our lives online, right?
I mean, yeah, who doesn't spend at least a little time thinking about their Instagram feed, right?
Exactly. So our goal today, especially for you listening, is to really break down this whole main character syndrome thing. What does it really look like? What are the different sides to it? And is it something that helps us actually take control of our lives, or does it pull us away from reality? So, first things first, what is main character syndrome?
So basically, main character syndrome is sort of like a lens, a way of looking at your life and experiences and how you interpret them. It's not like an official diagnosis or anything, but it's more of a belief, like a belief that your life is the main story and everything else that happens and everyone else you meet, they're all connected to your journey.
It's almost like a natural human thing to do, though, right? Like trying to find a story in everything.
Yeah, for sure. Our brains are constantly trying to make sense of the world, so we're always looking for patterns, always trying to make a coherent story out of everything, all right? We don't just sit back and let stuff happen. We try to understand it. We try to see where it all fits in, like a beginning, middle, and end. Like we see our struggles as moments where our character develops, and we see challenges as like plot points that make the story better in the end. Even just everyday stuff. Sometimes we see it as a sign or something, like it means something bigger for our own personal story.
It's funny you say that because I totally do that. Like one time I missed my train and I immediately thought, okay, universe, what are you trying to tell me? Who am I about to meet?
Right, exactly. And that kind of narrative thinking, it can actually be good for us. I mean, mentally. It can give us a sense of purpose, like our actions actually mean something in this big story we're living.
Right.
And it can even help us stay motivated because we feel like what we do actually matters.
I can see that, but I guess there has to be a balance, right? Where's that line between like knowing you're important and being in control of your life and becoming so focused on yourself that you lose sight of everything else?
That's exactly the question we need to answer. Like, when does a healthy sense of self-awareness, like knowing yourself and knowing you have power over your own life, when does that become too much? And how can we tell if we're starting to miss the reality and importance of other people around us because we're too focused on ourselves?
So we've got a basic idea of what it is, but why do people do it? Why do we, as humans, want to feel like the star of the show? What is it about being the main character that appeals to us so much?
I think it has to do with some really basic human needs. It's not just, some fad that Gen Z came up with because of social media or whatever. This desire to feel important, to feel like our lives have meaning, that they're part of something bigger, that's always been a part of us, It's built in.
Yeah, it's like we're all searching for our own personal myth, our own legend.
Yeah, in a way. And if you think about it, it's been around forever in all different cultures. Look at all the stories we've been telling for centuries, like old Hollywood movies, classic books. They usually show these idealized versions of life, right? You got your main character, and they're going through all this drama, romance, big moments that change everything. And those stories, they stick with us. They shape how we think a good life, a meaningful life should look.
Yeah, you see it everywhere. The underdog who makes it big, the star-crossed lovers who overcome every obstacle, the hero going on an epic journey. We love those stories.
And now fast forward to today, you've got reality TV, you've got social media, and they're all about showing off your life, right? These perfectly curated snapshots of people's best moments, their achievements, their awesome vacations. It's like we're all being trained to see our own lives as content, something to present and polish for everyone else to see. Like we're all starring in our own reality shows.
It's true, though. It's like we're all trying to build our own personal brand, whether we realize it or not.
Exactly. And then you've got the whole self-help thing, manifest your best life, act like the person you want to be. It's all about being intentional, taking control, which can be great, but it also puts so much emphasis on the individual. Like you're the only one who can write your story.
So it sounds like this desire to be the main character, at its heart, it comes from that basic human need to feel in control, to feel like we're actually making choices that matter, that we're shaping our own destiny instead of just letting life happen to us.
Exactly. It's that need to feel like we matter, like what we do has a real impact, that our life is a story that actually makes sense and has a point.
It makes sense, all of that. But you've also mentioned some of the potential downsides, so let's get into that. If you're walking around thinking you're the main character all the time, what does that mean for everyone else in your life? Do they just become like background characters in your personal movie?
That's where things can get a little sticky with main character syndrome. When you start believing too much that you're the center of everything, it can, without you even realizing it, make you start to see the people around you as less important. Like if you're the main character, then their lives and their experiences just don't seem as big or as meaningful compared to yours.
And that sounds, well, kind of lonely, actually, not just for the people who are being ignored, but for the person who's doing the ignoring, too, right?
Absolutely. It can show up in all sorts of ways. Like in relationships, you might have a partner who just talks about themselves all the time,
Mhm.
always focused on their own needs and goals, and the other person is just there to support them, like a side character.
Oh, yeah, the classic me type.
Exactly. And in friendships, you might have that friend who only calls when they need something or when hanging out benefits them in some way. And when things aren't about them anymore, they just disappear.
The friend who's all excited when you're doing something that fits into their story, but when you need something, they're nowhere to be found.
Exactly. And even in everyday life, this whole main character thing, it can lead to people being rude, not even thinking about other people, feeling like they're entitled to things, like the barista, the cashier, or anyone else they see is just background noise, like their time and their experiences just don't matter as much.
Yeah, I can see that. Sometimes I catch myself getting so caught up in my own little world that I don't even really see the person right in front of me.
It happens to all of us, but this mindset can definitely make it worse.
Yeah.
But the thing to remember, and it's so important, is that everyone you meet, every single person, they have their own story going on, their own complex, interesting life. There are no real-life NPCs. We're all the main characters of our own stories.
That's such an important point. It's not about trying to be the only main character, but recognizing that we all have our own main character story, and those stories are always crossing paths and affecting each other.
Exactly. And when you really get that, when you see everyone as the main character of their own life, then you can start to really connect with people, you can have real empathy, and you can move away from being so self-centered.
Okay, so we've talked about the downsides, how seeing yourself as the main character can make you lose sight of other people. But what about the idea that having this main character energy, it actually be a good thing? When does that actually work in our favor?
When you use it the right way, and when you keep things balanced, that feeling of being the main character, it can really push you to make positive changes and grow as a person. It gives you the motivation to actually do things, to take charge instead of just waiting for things to happen.
Yeah.
It helps you feel like you're in control of your own life.
It's like taking the wheel, right? Instead of just being a passenger in your own life.
Exactly. And it also changes how you look at challenges. Instead of seeing obstacles as a sign that you're failing or that things are going wrong, you can see them as like plot twists, unexpected turns in the story that make things more interesting and ultimately lead to something better. And that can make you more resilient, more optimistic, and ready to face whatever comes your way.
I like that, taking a bad day and turning it into like a dramatic scene in your movie.
Right. And it's not just about facing tough times either. This whole main character energy thing, it can help you appreciate the little things in everyday life too. Because when you see your life as this unfolding story, even the small stuff, the little moments, they start to feel more meaningful, like they add something to your story. It makes you more mindful, more appreciative of the present moment.
Yeah, it's like you start to see the beauty in the everyday things you might not have noticed before.
And it can also give you a huge confidence boost when you have to make a tough decision or when you want to achieve something big. Because if you believe you're the main character, you're more likely to go for it, to take risks, to face those challenges head on. Because you know you'll figure it out, just like the hero in a movie.
It's that feeling deep down that you'll find a way, that you'll overcome any obstacle that comes your way.
Exactly. So seeing your life like a story where you're the lead, it helps you see what's possible. It makes you believe that your actions actually matter, that they can lead to something amazing and fulfilling. It's all about being intentional, living with purpose, and feeling like you're actually participating in your own life.
So it's about being the driver of your own life, writing your own story, but, and this is important, not running anyone else off the road while you're doing it.
Right, exactly. Like we were talking about earlier, you have to make sure that this mindset doesn't turn into an excuse to be selfish or to not care about other people. You can't let your story make you forget that other people have their own real lives and feelings too.
Okay, so we've covered how this mindset can be empowering. But let's flip the script and talk about when this whole main character syndrome thing goes too far and actually starts hurting us. When does it become, like, toxic?
It becomes toxic when you get so wrapped up in your own story that you start to lose touch with reality. Like, your carefully crafted story becomes more important than real life, more important than empathy, more important than doing the right thing.
So what are some signs that things are going in that direction?
One big red flag is when someone refuses to take responsibility for their own actions. You know, if you're always the hero in your head, it's easy to blame everyone else when something goes wrong. And that means you never have to look at your own mistakes or admit that you messed up.
Ah, the classic, it's always someone else's fault type.
Yep. Another warning sign is when someone starts making impulsive decisions, big life changes, just for the drama of it, just to make their life feel more exciting, like quitting their job without a plan or booking a risky trip to some far-off place, all because it feels like a movie, or because it'll make a good story later.
It's like they're living for the plot.
Exactly. And probably one of the most harmful things about toxic main character syndrome is that it makes you ignore other people's feelings and experiences. You get so focused on your own drama that you just don't see or care about what other people are going through. Even the people closest to you, your friends, family, they just become background characters in your story.
Like their whole world shrinks down to just their own story, and everyone else is just a prop.
Exactly. So at its worst, main character syndrome can make you really self-centered, make you do reckless things just for the attention, and make you lose touch with what's real. And it makes you forget that we all need each other, that we're all connected.
So yeah, stories are powerful, but real life is about more than just a good narrative. It's about responsibility, putting in the work, and most importantly, caring about other people and their experiences.
Right. Real connections with other people, those are the things that make life truly meaningful and fulfilling. And if you're too focused on your own story, you miss out on all of that.
This brings up something really interesting. We've talked about how a lot of us walk around feeling like the main character. But flip that around for a second. What if we're actually the NPCs in someone else's story?
Whoa. Yeah, that's a good question. And it's kind of humbling, too, when you think about it.
Hmm.
Because, yeah, you're the main character of your own life, but everyone else feels that way, too, right? So from their perspective, you might just be a minor character passing through their story.
I never thought about it like that. Like, I've got my barista who I see every morning, and in my story, they're just the coffee person. But to them, I'm just another face in line, another customer. Probably not even worth remembering.
Exactly. You might be the person who held the door open for someone, or the person talking too loud on their phone on the bus.
Oh.
In other people's stories, we might just be small, forgettable parts of their day.
Wow. Yeah. Kind of a mind-blowing thought, but also kind of freeing in a way. Like, maybe it's okay to not be the center of attention all the time.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe it's not about always trying to be the main character, the star of the show. Maybe it's about focusing on being a good person, no matter how big or small our role is in any given moment.
I like that a lot, actually. Like, maybe instead of obsessing over being the main character, we should focus on being a good character, period. Someone who's there for other people no matter what.
Right. It's not about trying to control the whole story, but just being present in each moment, acting with good intentions, and treating people with kindness and respect, no matter what role you're playing, whether it's a big moment in your own life or a brief encounter in someone else's.
That makes a lot of sense. It takes the pressure off of having to plan every single moment of your life. And it leaves room for spontaneity, for genuine connections, for those unexpected things that happen when you're interacting with other people.
It's about focusing on being a good person, on doing the right thing, and on how your actions impact others, not on whether you're the main character or not.
So are you the main character in your own life, or are you just a side quest in someone else's? Sounds like there's no easy answer to that question.
It really is more complicated than that, yeah.
Yeah.
Main character syndrome, it's really just a way of looking at things, a way of understanding your own experience. And like any way of thinking, it can have good and bad effects depending on how you use it. The key is finding that balance.
So for you listening, it's all about finding that balance in how you see yourself and the world around you.
Exactly. It's great to see the beauty and excitement in everyday life, to feel like your life is an adventure. But don't let that make you forget that other people have their own experiences and their own truth, too. Take control of your own life. Be intentional, make choices, but stay humble, and remember that everyone else is writing their own story, just like you. That whole main character energy. Use it to do good, to discover yourself, to appreciate every moment, but don't let it become an excuse to be self-centered or to treat other people poorly.
Because in the end, life isn't a movie. It isn't a book where you're the only one who matters. It's messy, it's unpredictable, it's full of surprises, and it's filled with other people who are just as complex and just as important as you.
And maybe the best way to live isn't by trying to be the main character in some big lonely story, but by trying to be a real character, a good character,
Right.
someone who's present, who's engaged with the world, who's trying to make a positive impact on others.
Yeah, maybe the goal shouldn't be to be the solo star, but to be a valuable part of the huge, amazing ensemble cast that makes up the real world. Because look, in the end, maybe this is it. Maybe this is all there is. Or maybe it's just a tiny piece of something much bigger. But whatever it is, it's your story to tell, and everyone else has their own story too.